Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. So the information that we've been hearing that's come out from the set of Rust regarding the shooting and the death of Hudson, the cinematographer, at the hands of Alec Baldwin involving a scene when they were setting up for a shootout. The information we've been hearing is from a lot of news sources, but only a few people who are actually on set have spoken out. And this one person, Hudson, who spoke out, has said that he felt that the filming on the set felt life-threatening. So we're going to take a look at a few articles and see what he's actually said himself regarding the set and the safety procedures that they had on set for this movie. So this is the TMZ article that says, Rust actor says camera was protected but not the actors and afraid to voice concerns. So it says in this TMZ article, the gun scenes in the Alec Baldwin movie Rust were considered dangerous enough to provide certain protections, but not protections for people, rather the expensive camera. Hudson, a New Mexico-based principal cast member who plays an outlaw in the film, tells TMZ his last scene in the movie on October 8 was a shootout where he was killed. And he says he was terrified that there were 20 rounds from pistols and rifles that were unloading blanks, and the only protection against a mishap was some sort of shield around the camera. So Hudson describes what he says was something like a 3x2 foot shield with the only part exposed being the lens. He was standing 6 feet in front of the camera and wondered why there was a need to protect the camera as he stood there exposed. He adds there were people standing behind the camera, something gun experts say should not have happened. So that's him there on the set. He felt the scene was, quote, life-threatening because real weapons were being pointed at him and blanks discharged, creating a rush of air that struck him multiple times. He also said he was hit by small pieces of cardboard. The actor told us he didn't complain because he was new in the business and felt he would be viewed as trouble if he voiced concern. And Hudson says he and his fellow actors were alarmed enough to reference the accidental killing of Brandon Lee back in 1993. He told us they discussed the fact that it didn't seem like much has changed in the last 30 years, which is what a lot of the media has been saying. The last time this happened, they've been referencing the Brandon Lee incident on The Crow, which the assistant director Dave Halls actually worked on the sequel to that movie back in 2000, The Crow Salvation. And Dave Halls, the assistant director, was the person who apparently handed the gun to Alec Baldwin and said cold gun, meaning it should not have been loaded with live ammunition. Moving on, Hudson says the other more experienced actors checked their weapons 2 or 3 times after they received them from the armorer. Didn't matter whether they were told the gun was cold or hot. Baldwin did not check the weapon, but rather relied on the assistant director who assured him the gun was cold. Hang on a minute, what have we been hearing? Let me pull this up. So Raw Story posted this article, says Alec Baldwin is the least likely person to be charged for the Rust gun accident, from a CNN legal analyst. Why would you say that he is the least liable because someone else handed him the gun? I think that's what they said here. A lot of it has to do with the state of mind, which is difficult for prosecutors to show. What did these various people know about the status of the gun? I just want to say this, Alec Baldwin looks frankly the least likely person to have any sort of criminal liability because it's very hard for me to imagine that he could have expected that this was a gun that could have inflicted real harm. But we've known from my last video, some of these actors were taking the guns and using them for plinking or target practice offset. And now if Hudson says other more experienced actors check their weapons 2 or 3 times after they received them, then why isn't Alec Baldwin being held to the same standard? He's a producer on the set as well. So why isn't he checking the weapons? Other actors check the weapons. I said he should have checked the weapon. It's a revolver. Open the chamber, have a look, spin it around, see if there's any live bullets in there. If they're actually live, then you ask the person who gave it to you, the assistant director, why did you give me live ammo? And what the hell's live ammo doing in this weapon? Other actors check their weapons. Alec Baldwin did not. He could potentially be held liable as well because he did not check his weapon. That is negligence. Not just an actor, but a producer as well. And then we've got the armorer Hannah Gutierrez-Reed, who is now under the microscope because of her inexperience. This was her second film as an armorer. Something she talked about in a recent podcast, which I've covered in a previous video. I've got some clips on that if you want to go check that out. Links are in the description below. Hudson says director Joel Souza praised Hannah when Hudson was on set, telling her she was doing a good job. As we reported, Souza was shot along with director of photography Helena Hutchins, who died from her injuries after being hit by a live round. So there's Hudson and Jensen Ackles, who I got a previous video on. He was talking about how he interacted with Hannah Reed. Now, Hudson added he never saw anyone using guns recreationally when the cameras weren't rolling. That's why I said in my previous video, take it with a grain of salt, that 2 different places have been publishing now. TMZ, they first published that they heard that people were using live ammunition and shooting these guns off the set. And in my last video, I showed you that the Rap CEOs told CNN that they had an inside source that said some actors were using the guns for target practice and plinking. So a couple of outlets that want to report that, but he said he didn't see any of that happening when the cameras weren't rolling. So Hudson, who worked on the set, comes out and says that they were protecting the cameras on the set with shields, but that he felt that filming his scenes were life-threatening. As we've heard with all this different information coming out on the set of this movie, and I'm 100% sure there'll be more coming out in the next days and weeks, so I will keep you updated. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Be sure to smash the like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, share this one out, and I'll see you in the next one.